This clip I am posting on my YouTube channel. It will be under its own playlist. That playlist being on the subject of slavery. Clips such as these also coincide with the Facebook page I created about the same subject. It is a page on Facebook I created 10 years ago. Not every Facebook page I created people have paid attention to. This happens to be one which everyone ignored. And just because I am making a little playlist on this channel and including a link to the page in the description does not mean I am looking for more people to check it out. I'm perfectly fine with everybody acting like it doesn't even exist. When I first created the page on Facebook, I called it Slavery in the United States or something like that. Recently, due to my re-emerging interest in the subject, I renamed the page because the true story about slavery covers much more than its history in the USA. I remember it was when I started high school that I find myself interested in the period of the American Civil War. It seemed everything I read and learned about it, I wanted to find out more. It was 15 years ago that I began going to my local library, checking out books on tape about slavery. I learned a lot about its history in the United States merely because it was what the library had the most books on, meaning the version of slavery as it had existed in America was much more documented than that of elsewhere in the world. It was at that point that I realized that as opposed to being as interested in the Civil War era as I thought I was, it was more so that I was interested in slavery history. And as a result of my readings and the things I have studied, I have become somewhat of an expert on the subject of slavery, which is not to say I know all there is to know, which is one of the reasons for the Facebook page I am involved with. I'm able to put down my thoughts as well as the things I continue learning about. Where I disagree with the majority of my constituents, they conclude that the legal form of slavery is something which existed centuries ago. As a predominant subject, they see it as no longer relevant as it had been before. But as far as I am concerned, it is no less relevant now than it had been because of how it continues to shape the learning I am experiencing about my own race. After all, it was black people who were transported for hundreds of years from one hemisphere of the world to a completely another. Why and how did that happen to us and not anyone else? I want to know about the state of black people in the world today. I want to have some idea where we are going. It is an interesting learning experience. For example, two distinct forms of slavery existed. There is the white-on-black slavery, and there is the black-on-black slavery. Everyone wants to talk about the white-on-black slavery, and no one wants to talk about the black-on-black slavery, which I find fascinating. But slowly, I'm able to thread it together with our current state of events. such as the Black Lives Matter movement, and which parts of it receive the most attention. Because Black Lives Matter has two distinct parts as well. There is the Black Lives Matter when it comes to blacks as the victims of non-blacks, and there is the Black Lives Matter when it comes to blacks as the victims of other blacks. Which of these two are we much more comfortable talking about? There is an old saying, if you want to know why a person behaves the way he does, look back into how he was raised up. Because that history will explain a lot about how he acts today. If that old saying is true about individuals, then it also can be true about a race of people as well. Look for upcoming clips in this playlist as I decide I'm going to post them. I do have one other already in mind. It is the story of Solomon Northup, which is called 12 Years a Slave, which had been made into a motion picture about 8 years ago.